academic background. First off, I have a hard time bragging on myself. How many in here like to brag on yourself? Okay, Greg, he's in the back row. He said he would. That's why he's sitting in the back, because he knows he will. But I have a hard time doing it. So the best thing I know to do is, one time in my life, I wrote a real long, detailed resume of about 6 pages. I'm not going to read it, okay? Don't panic. But I'm going to give you a synopsis. First off, when I got out of high school, I got selected for a job at Eastern Aero Photo Lab in Asheville, North Carolina. Does anybody know anything about that? Okay, that's back when they flew the United States with a plane and took pictures. And they were 12 by 12 negatives. They would blow them up to 24 by 24, 36 by 36, 48 by 48. If they came to your property to measure your tobacco, they had a 48 by 48. And they had to check it off, and that was giving you the outline of the tobacco crop. There was one here and one in Salt Lake City, Utah. They had a summer program. We're going to hire youth. They hired me, and I was lucky enough to get it. First job they did was throw us in the basement, where they'd put a silver recovery system in from the developing solution, and you know about all of that. So they put that in the basement, and they wanted us to clean it up. Well, end of the week, it was cleaned up. I was an old farm boy. They said, okay, we'll put you in the shop and let you straighten it up. End of that week, we had the shop straightened up. They didn't know what to do with us. So they said, okay, we'll put you in here sorting and packing. So where they roll the photos out. Now picture this. This whole thing on South French Broad. The building is still there. They would have all those photos lined out like this, you know, laid out. And there were individual orders. They could be orders of 4, 5, or 6. And you had to pull out an invoice, stamp it 3 times. Copy went with the invoice. Copy stayed in your department. And then a copy went to the front office. So that guy took me in there on Friday and said, you do this, and you got to ship these by freight. If you had a whole state, you'd put them in these big boxes and use the nylon tape back then. It was really something new, you know. And you'd tape them up. So he said, now, and the room that we was at was about the size of this one. He said, and the walls were lined with photos. He said, now, if they come in here with an order, you stop and get it out. But he said, you'll never catch up. You don't tell a young buck that's just out of high school. That's his first public job he's ever had. So in 2 weeks' time, I had figured out a way to do it. I shipped everything out of there, and I was sitting there waiting for them to bring more in. And the moral of this story is, that's your government, folks. And the guy that had that job, that went on vacation, came back. And they moved him to supplies and kept me there for the full summer. And later on, I asked, what happened to that guy? You want to guess what had happened to him? He was promoted to the post office. So right then and there, my first experience with government woke me up. Okay? So then I apply to UNCA, and I get a job at Stony Knob Supermarket. Anybody remember Stony Knob Supermarket when it was a grocery store? Yeah, you and I got great grocery store tales. I'll try to avoid mine tonight because, you know.
Greek sausage.
But my wife will probably appreciate me not talking about a green stamp on her rear.
Oh, thank you.
But went to work Stony Knob, and within 60 days, I was in charge of the part-time help. I figured out something. I'm going to college, right? I got to put myself through college, right? So I need to work a lot, right? Guess how's the best way to work a lot? Be in charge of the schedule. So I got in charge of the schedule. Had a great time there for 5 years. UNCA got 2 majors, biology and psychology. And when I got into psychology and biology, I started studying animal behavior. And you learn, Doc, don't you? Animals have a language of their own. They communicate. When the bird sings, the bird is not singing for your enjoyment. He's singing to find him a mate. So it's really exciting to figure out a lot of the things we do are organic, okay? So I went out there, graduated from there with honors in biology, met my wonderful wife at the grocery store. And yes, she came in one night with a pair of white shorts on and a green stamp was stuck. And most of you haven't even remember green stamps. On a white pair of white shorts, it did stand out. And I said, honey, you giving green stamps with that thing? And she's married me, and we've been together almost 53 years. So it does work to meet somebody in the grocery store. We got married. I finished my 5th year while I was married, went to East Tennessee, graduated with a master's degree in biology. My thesis was published. And then I had experience with education. And here's the experience with education. I get a call from the chairman of the department. Hey, Don, I understand your thesis is published. I said, yes, sir, it is. He said, where's it published? I said, in Castania. That's the second most notable biological journal in the Southeast. He said, well, who's the author? I said, I am. He said, oh, no. You need to call and change authorship and make your senior advisor, the author, and you become the junior author. Why? Why did he do that, folks? In college, it's publish or perish. You do research on things that will give you money. So we can prove global warming's a reality. We can prove it's not a reality. We can prove anything we want to if somebody's pumping money into the university to keep it going. So I called my advisor. I said, I need to talk to you. He said, Don, I don't want you to change authorship, but I need to talk to you. So I drove to Irwin and met him. And we talked, and he said, I do not want you to change authorship. He said, you came over there, we told you you couldn't do it because you didn't have a greenhouse. You went out in the community and found a greenhouse, and all I did was just give you a little bit of help. He said, just don't tell Copeland, chairman of the department. So I get back to Brevard College where I was teaching. I pick up the phone, and excuse me, folks, this is exactly what I said. I said, Dr. Copeland. He said, oh, you wrote my letter, got my letter of recommendation for me. I'm sure you're going to change your authorships, right? I said, no, sir. I want you to take that letter of recommendation and stuff it up your ass, and I hope you suffocate on it when it comes out your mouth. And I hung up, and I'd never talk to the man again. Now, I went to work later on with Buncombe County. Because I went on to Clemson and got a master's degree in environmental systems engineering. I have designed wastewater treatment plants and handed them to an engineer for him to stamp them. And one of the plants that I designed is in Kernersville, North Carolina, and it worked so well they shut the plant down across the road and piped all of that over to that plant. It was a simple concept. I used a circle clarifier. You say, what's a clarifier? It's the part of the wastewater treatment plant where all the solids settles out. What are the solids? What will eat crap, folks? Bacteria. So they got to let it settle out. So you get much more surface area in a circle than you do a little square where only one side of it's the weir. So it works so well. It's just simple stuff like that, folks, that works. That is the thing that I've always done all my life, is look for the principles behind it and try to apply them. So I wanted you to know that, because I ain't no dummy, and some people think I'm a loudmouth of the South when I had the TV show for 10 years. That's okay, let them think that, because you learn a lot when they think that about you, okay? So now we're going to let everybody know my secret out there, all right? That's just fine, because I'm going to put this on YouTube. So that gets me out of that, gets me into that. Let's see if there's anything I left out in here. Oh yeah, I did technical design and sales for a recycling company, reconversion products out of South Carolina. Developed a market for a recycled plastic product. Back when they first came out with the 1 and 2 liter Coke bottles, they had the black things on the bottom. Remember that? They took those black things and they were making lumber with it. Gee, it's all over the place now, Trex and plastic lumber.
Yeah.
But guess what started that idea? That lumber doesn't rot in a horse trailer. What happens in a horse trailer? Poop, 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 pee, 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 it rots. So that was the market they were in. Well, I called on Exide Battery Plant, Bristol, Tennessee, and a battery plant that makes batteries. What kind of environment's that? Acid. What they used to keep acid off the floor was brick, soldier course, with tar. Tar was the thing to keep it off the concrete. The brick was to protect the tar, but that would only last maybe 8, 10, 12, 13 years, and it cost something like back then like $35 a square foot to replace it. Well, this plastic, I could sell it to them for $1 a square foot. That whole plant had that in the flooring, and the guy that bought it from me ended up being a VP with Exide Battery. It was a new market. From that, then I said, okay, remember when they had air conditioning pads made out of concrete? Yeah. Well, something happened in the business world. If you have a distributor, you want to take as much as you can on your truck when you're going out, don't you? Because the more you can take out, the better off you are. But it's hard to carry concrete blocks. You can make that out of that plastic. It can be carried, and it developed a new market for that. So you got to keep your eyes open for what's going on. And that's when you start seeing what's going on in the county. And I'll leave the rest of that. You got the idea, right? It's simple. All you do is do that. Now, county government. First job I had out of school, out of Clemson, Land to Sky Regional Council. Water quality and public participation. And I helped write the first 208 Water Quality Management Plan for Buncombe County. Now, what's the 208 Water Quality Management Plan? That's the federal law 208 that funded the building of wastewater treatment plants. The federal government, in its infinite wisdom, went all over the United States. And sure, right here in Asheville, you had feces flowing straight into the French Broad River. There was no treatment plant. I mean, it was all over the country that way. So all of a sudden they said, we've got to do this. And guess what happened? Clemson University had to turn out engineers that could do the job. Well, when I graduated, I went and supposed to have a job at EPA. Thank God I didn't. And I get down there and they interview me, and then they call me and say, "We got you got to come back down there." I go back to Atlanta, and they said, "I'm sorry, we had your name on the wrong list." And hiring has been frozen.
For you.
Yeah, hiring has been frozen. And I was coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I will add this story to you. It'll tell you more about me, and some of you probably want to know. I looked up and I saw moonlit night. I was driving a Datsun 710, straight drive. We had to have that because the one we had that my wife was driving was an Opel with a 53 horsepower engine in it. Could barely get out of the road. So I was coming out of Atlanta, I looked up and I saw that beautiful moon shining through the clouds. And a sense of peace came over me and said, "You're going to be all right. I'll take care of you." Got back, was supposed to go to up in Virginia to teach wastewater treatment plant operators at an Army base. Boy, that would have been a joke, wouldn't it? And they offered me a job at the Land of Sky. I said, "Okay, you got till Monday at 12 o'clock to make your decision." Well, I said, "You make it at 12 o'clock or I'm going to be in my truck headed to Virginia." Guess what? About 11:57, I got a call, and I got my job at the Land of Sky. And I worked there for about 4 years. But it's amazing, folks, because I found out one thing. Land of Sky Regional Council is funded by federal, state, and local money. How many of you want to step into that nest? If you move over here, you're hurting this. If you move over here, you're ticking this off. So, you know, it is a waste of money and a concept that everybody thinks is so great, but it's not. That's why Haywood County pulled out of it, out of the region, okay? So then I went from there and started operating wastewater treatment plants. And thank God for that, because that operating wastewater treatment plants prepared me for one thing: the world of politics. Think on that one. That's the truth. So, I have done that. I did work for that reconversion product design stuff. But I ended up wanting to live in this area. How many were born and raised here? You're going to do what it takes to stay here, aren't you? Now, there's a bunch of people up there, city council don't understand that. There's a bunch of people at the county commissioners don't understand that. There's a bunch of people in this county that don't understand that. But I ain't giving up, and I don't intend to. Now, this election is important to me, but guess what? It's more important to you folks. Because right here is District 3. I want you to look at it. My district is Weaverville up to Town Mountain Road in Beaver Lake. I got parts of West Asheville. It's all over the place. And if the people don't promote me and support me, and if the county don't turn out, you might as well kiss your fanny goodbye, because Brownie Newman, Jasmine Beach Ferrara, and the people that are there will let the city take over the county. Period. Yeah. Now, why do I say that? You're looking at the guy that sued Wanda Green. Me and two more boys. Because we went to her for information. She said, I'm going to pass a resolution. You can only come to me to get information, and I will have 30 days to answer you. Well, one of the three that I mentioned to you, he was a little bit weird. He didn't like me, but that's okay. I put up with it because he was pretty weird. And he found a law. He did research on the 10th floor of the courthouse. Buncombe County had the best legal law library in the state on the 10th floor. See, folks, y'all don't realize with law, you got this law, right? But this law has been changed to this law, to this law, to this law, to this law. And the original meaning of the law is what's important. It's been so mutilated down, and it's horrible. So we took her to court. And we won. Now, they didn't put me on the stand at all. And I think my lawyer didn't put me on the stand because what I told him. I said, go ahead, if you put me on the stand, I'm going to ask the judge for a moment for prayer. And if she denies it, what's she done? And then I said, when I pray, I'm going to say, God, please help me not to get upset in this jack-legged, crooked court. Now, if she charged me for something there, she's also denied my right. And my lawyer knew I'd do it. They didn't call me on the stand, and Joe Conley, the county attorney, didn't put me on the stand. So, you know, you got to stand up for what you believe, folks. You can't give up. And I see people, and you know what I'm talking about. People give up. We've got some people that ran for office here, and the 11th race was really contested. Rod is not giving up. Bruce O'Connell's not giving up. So there's a lot of those candidates that run are not going to give up, and that's good. That's a sign that we are winning, okay? Because I have seen so much in the county. Number one, the first thing I did, I was working with Oscar Meyer. And of course, I'd had my experience at Atlanta Sky, so I knew Bill Mull at MSD. I go to a commissioners meeting, and that's when they were in the old courthouse, and they were talking, oh, well, we can't do that. We can't do sludge because Bill won't let us have the sludge. Remember the sludge? And I said, So I go down to see Bill. I say, Bill, they say you won't let them have the sludge. He said, I'll write a letter saying I'll give it to him. So the next county commissioners meeting, guess who showed up with that letter? So that's what you find out. And then the more I got involved with the county, saw what one of the Reams doing, the more I investigated. We had a situation on cell towers. Phone call was made to the county commissioners, and they brought it up in the meeting. We don't know what we can do. These folks that didn't want cell towers at their house came up there and was raising Cain. Nobody had an answer. Jim Coben lived out in Leicester. Y'all may know him from Leicester. Had that big old Victorian house down there next to where Chad lives. He was basically saying, there's nothing we can do. So yours truly called the FCC. Isn't that where you would go? Because they control the cell towers. And they said, well, it's run by a committee. That horrible word, folks. By committee. I said, okay, who's the chair of the committee? It was a senator out of Michigan. Great. Can I call him? Yes. Where's his number? I called him. He answered the phone. I said, sir, this is Don Yelton from Buncombe County. I didn't say with Buncombe County, because Joe Connolly tried to get me on that one time for calling the state. He said, you're calling down there and acting like you work with the county. I said, no, I say I'm Don Yelton from Buncombe County. You want to take me to court on that, Joe? I am from Buncombe County. You got to use your head, folks. So I made my call. The guy said, the county commissioners can do anything they want to. They can require they be 10 foot tall. They can require they be 100 foot tall. They can require they be lighted. They can require that they be camouflaged. They just can't restrict them. Guess where they were restricted in Buncombe County? Know that Dream store out there on 25? You know, none of you been to that adult store out there, have you? It's out there next to where David Gant lives. He didn't want cell towers in that township. Remember townships? He didn't want in that township, and also Beaver Dam Township. That's how cell towers got to here. And I heard about Madison County, so I'm not just with Buncombe. I don't care. I went to Madison County, and I got to tell you this because it's a funny story. We were at the courthouse, down at the bottom, 3 commissioners and Larry Leak. Anybody here know Larry Leak? I see some grins, okay. They say his daddy was a good guy. But he ran for office, then the people voted him out, and then the Governor Hunt put him back in, and then Governor Cooper Pooper, I think, is the one that put him in as a judge. So is he still a judge over there? I don't know. So he was down there, and they were, well, we don't know what we could do about cell towers. I don't get them out. And anybody been in the old courthouse in Madison County? It's great. I mean, you sitting up there, it's like the old bull ring. Mm-hmm. I said, well, I can tell y'all what you can do. Well, who are you? I said, I'm Don Yelton. He said, do you live in Madison County? I said, no, I live in Buncombe, but I look right down on Madison. I don't recommend doing that, but it just came out. And he said, well, what's the deal? And I said, here's the deal, and I told him. And I said, if you all were smart, you will let this cell tower company put up cell towers if they will give you a site on it for your county communications, because they couldn't talk over the holler in Madison County. So he said, well, who are you and what do you do with cell towers? Are you an investor? I said, no, sir. I said, I love to watch government make decisions when they don't know shit about it. Now, you can imagine that whole courtroom just died laughing. But they got their cell tower. I walked out of the courthouse on the steps and I said, I love cell towers. They got a good place for one. Somebody will take care of you if you're doing what's right. I got a cell tower as a result of the work I did. Nobody ever paid me a dime. But I love that cell tower sitting backside of my place. 100 by 100 foot. I get as much off of it as I do a rental house. No expense. And they built the road to it. They threatened to take it down. I said, go ahead. I'll sell that top and those 12 acres for $250,000. And then another guy said, nope, they will not take it down because it cost $250,000 to take it down. And guess what? DirecTV just put another array on it because DirecTV is going into cell phones. So that's one that I'm proud of. The biggest thing that I'm proud of is the vote on zoning. Everybody said we can't have a vote on zoning. All the commissioners. So I called the School of Government in Chapel Hill. How many have been talking to them? If you have anything to do with government, you need to give them a call. You need to figure out who they are. And I called down there and asked them, how can we get a vote on zoning? They said it's simple. If all your county commissioners ask for it, then your legislatures will probably do it for you because they don't want animosity between the legislatures. See, it's that old political thing. You can't scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. That's what it is in action. And so that's what you do. So I knew that. Now, I like Tom Sobel. He's opposite as me as he can be. Matter of fact, I was out talking to him last week. Walking into his office, fell into a split rail fence, cut this arm, walked into his office with blood from here to here. He had to go get me a paper towel wrapped around it, but I still kept my appointment with him because I like Tom. We talk. We're different, but we respect each other. Tom Sobel used to let us in county commissioners meetings speak before every vote. Brownie Newman don't even consider it. You speak there and in the school board before the meeting goes on, folks. It's not input. You got your 3 minutes, shut up, sit down, we don't care what you say. Then you wonder why people don't go. Now you see why I'm stupid enough to go for the last 35 years. And one of these days I ain't going to be here. Who's going to go then? Who's going to take up it? Who's going to pick it up and who's going to do it? You got kids, you need to get them involved. Somebody better be watching them because it was real funny. That was when Peggy Bennett was going around to the schools having little powwows on, zoning. And we were at one school and she said, well, we can't get a vote on zoning. And I said, oh, yes, we can. Well, I said that and somebody else heard it. Then somebody else went up and told Peggy, yeah, there's a guy over here says we can get a vote. She said, who is it? And the guy said, she said, Don, come here. How can we get a vote? I said, it's simple. I explained it to her. Now, this may offend some lifetime Republicans. If it does, I'm sorry. I want you to get the gist of what I'm saying. It's not about party, folks. It's not about politics. It's about winning and doing the right thing. I said, I told him the thing, and I got called over in the corner underneath the bleachers by a well-known attorney here in Asheville, Albert Sneed. Don, be careful now. You're going to mess up what Wilma Sherrill's fixing to do in Raleigh. I said, what's she going to do? Oh, she's going to introduce legislation to put it to a vote. Knowing full well if she brought it forward, the rest of them wouldn't go for it because the county commissioner didn't ask for it, right? But she could play that political card. I'm telling you the truth, folks, and you know I am. So, on the way home, I pick up my phone and I call Senator Steve Metcalf. I said, Steve, I hope Tom Sobel gets rich on this zoning deal. He said, what do you mean? I said, Wilma Sherrill's going to make a fool out of it and bring it up to put it to a vote, and they all ain't going to vote on it. I ain't going to tell you what Steve said, because he said a bad word and slammed the phone down. The next morning, Bill Stanley announced we'd have a vote on zoning. That's how you all got to vote on zoning. And what did they do? They didn't make it binding, but at least we got the vote. Now, the phone call was made to Deborah's first cousin. Senator Steve Metcalf's her first cousin. So when I changed to Republican, it was a little bit rough, but guess what? When I got my kidney over 8 years ago, Steve was the first one to visit her and me in the hospital in in Winston-Salem on the way to Raleigh. So that goes to show you, you can make fights and you can have fights and you can win. Because folks, what I just told you is just a smidgen of what's going on. The county commissioner's agenda this next week has on it a way to help pay for the poor people's water bill. Now in Buncombe County, since I know how to operate wastewater treatment plants and have some friends at MSD and went down there every year for renewal course, what's it cost for a tap fee now? Anybody know? About $2,900 if they don't have to run a pipe. If that's to affordable renting house and a low-income house, they refund 2/3 of that tap fee after it's built. So folks, a question that needs to be asked our county commissioners, and you notice I'm saying our county commissioners and I ain't singling nobody out. Somebody next Tuesday needs to ask the question, how much money are we giving to affordable housing? A little pile here, a little pile here, a little pile here. How much is it when you put it all together? And if we don't have a commissioner that won't ask that, I will ask that in every meeting. Because if we don't get down to the bottom of this, your taxes are going to go up exorbitantly. As a matter of fact, it needs state legislation. If you are 65 years old and have lived in your house for a long time, you ought to have your property taxes on your principal resident frozen. Period. End of discussion. You have to live on a budget. They need to live on a budget. But guess who makes them live on a budget? You. And anybody out there watching this video, you make them live on a budget. Folks, it's not about party, it's not about politics, it's principle. Period. End of discussion. It is principle. Period. End of discussion. And I think that I'm going to throw it open to questions. Yeah, I could go on for an hour. You know I could. I left all my notes over here. I didn't even look at them. I told her, I said, I'm not going to look at them. I'm just going to talk from the heart. So if anybody got any questions, please ask.
Don, how effective will you be up there if you're the only Republican sitting as a county commissioner?
I got the vote on zoning, didn't I? With a Democrat and Republican both not wanting it.
How effective will you be, though?
That's
Since
exactly.
you only have one vote.
I've only got one vote, but guess what? I can tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason I see it's profitable for us to have you up there is you will shine light on the crap that's out there.
It's all going on behind closed doors, folks. If you watch what the county's doing, Board of Reparations, Board of Long-Term Planning, they're running everything by boards. Why? Because the commissioners won't make a decision. If I make a decision tonight on any issue, somebody in here will not agree with me. So rather than lose that vote, I'll just play the nice and be in the middle and straddle the fence. And any old country boy knows you can't walk straddling a barbed wire fence. And I don't recommend ladies try it either.
That's why they hire consultants.
Do what?
To be not accountable, they hire consultants to
Yeah.
make the decision for them.
I mean that's what it is. See, and they come into that meeting, they've made all the decisions, they know what they're going to do. Poor old Robert tried his best to extend the sewer line out there. And Brownie, oh no, we need more information. We need more information. What more information do you need, folks? A sewer system, a septic tank, is a temporary solution. Y'all didn't know that, did you? If it wasn't temporary, why do they make you have a recharge area when you buy a lot and build a house? So when the first one fails, you can go to the second one. You see how knowledge helps you? And that's another thing helps you. You got to have a little bit of knowledge in all these fields. I ain't an expert in nothing, but I'm smart enough to ask questions if I don't know. And that's the key. Does that answer your question, Richard?
Yes, Don.
Thank you for the question. Somebody else has got some, they just won't speak up. Yes.
Do you know what's going on with Merriman Avenue? And, you know, them cutting it down to 2 lanes with the center lane and
Oh, yeah,
all
but-
important bike lanes.
Well, Richard and I were at a meeting at that library or whatever it is out there in North Asheville. Everybody there's wanting it. Everybody there's wanting it. You're going to get rid of 1 lane and make a bike lane on both sides. Now, frankly, folks, Merriman Avenue ain't wide enough for 4 lanes.
No, it's not.
No.
I mean, it's not. But what did your city planner do? Let's look out there, going out of Asheville, before you get up there to the top of the hill where Lord's Drugstore used to be. See, I'm showing my age now. How many would know where Lord's Drugstore used to be? Before you get up there, that building on the left that Range is in now, Range Emergency, where'd they build it?
Right on the curb.
Right on the curb. Why? So you couldn't widen that road if you wanted to. Besides, you don't need cars.
Public transit.
We're going to put everybody in electric buses.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you a question. You go to New York, what's the germiest thing you could do in New York?
Get on the subway.
No, I wouldn't get on a subway now because it's a death trap. I wouldn't ride in a cab.
Yeah.
You could get in a taxi cab. That's probably the germiest thing in the world. So you don't need your car though, because you're consuming gas. We'll do it electric. Matter of fact, Spruce Pine, I just reading today, getting all excited about an electric boat manufacturer coming over there.
Yeah.
I mean, electric boat.
Outboard motors should have electric.
Well, just think about it. Where are they going to charge it from?
Walmart, they were all open when I came through.
And what do they say about transmission through lines? 20% reduction in your wattage and output if you
Yeah.
go through a line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do they put substations on to pick up the power?
exactly.
Gee whiz. But we have Brandon Newman up there spouting solar, and he's already got, I won't say that. I did one time on Facebook, I said, if Parker Sloan is so close to Brownie, if Brownie stopped, his nose would go up his rear. Parker Sloan is in solar too. And my opponent, Amanda Edwards, in Weaverville, made a comment on Facebook, and the comment says this. It says, I wished all my lady friends, now Deborah help me if I screw it up, all my lady friends would get mad as hell and burn everything down.
No.
That's pretty close.
I was trying to think exactly how
No,
she
it's
said
the
it.
other woman from Weaverville who said that.
I was trying
She's
to
on
think-
city council.
Yeah, it wasn't Amanda, but it was.
No, it wasn't Amanda, but here's what Amanda did.
Yeah.
She put a heart on it. That's what she did. At the same time, I talked to some in here. How many are familiar with Alexander Road? How many of you are familiar with the other end of Alexander Road, where they put the new fire station up at the library? When you come out of that library, how tall's the bank on both sides? And they were looking at putting a flashing light up there. And they didn't let them have a stoplight. They didn't let them have a stoplight. I frankly think they should have a stoplight that the fire department had control of, that they're going to pull out and go red on both sides. But they didn't do that. It's flashing. And some of those old boys on Lester Highway out there ain't going to pay attention to that flash. But you can't see what you're doing when you pull out. You know what she said? Well, I need further information. What else do you need to know? Use your darn head. Yeah.
So, what would you do as a county commissioner to hold other county commissioners accountable when they have conflict of interest on votes?
the best thing you can do, because she voted to give more money to AB Tech, and I asked her about it in the meeting, and she said, my attorney told me I could. That's what she said, okay? I've been challenging them all along on that. But the only vehicle that we have, right now, the only vehicle we have is somebody that's up there pointing it out. Not somebody in the audience. Not somebody that has a reputation of being a radical, but somebody up there in that seat. And the question is, are you going to put somebody up there to do that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Because this territory, folks, is unreal. I've got people in Beaver Lake that said they're afraid to put a sign up because they'd get lambasted if it was Republican.
Right.
They deserve to have 2 lanes and nothing else on Merriman Avenue if they're that scared.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just telling it like it is. Does that help you, Greg?
Yes.
Because what you've got to do is let people know what's going on. Now, I've already promised I'll maintain office hours 2 days a week. 2 days a week. And I'm not afraid of recording what I say, what I do, and I would not be remiss, and I would be very glad to give a synopsis of every county commissioner meeting for the public.
Do you think if you did that, if you, I think the thing has been a lack of interest in people going. They don't know what's going on. Do you think that if you did that, that people might start to see what's going on?
They got 2
Pay
choices.
attention?
They got 2 choices, honey.
Pay attention or don't.
See or kiss their butt goodbye.
That's right.
I'm sorry. There is no middle of the road. We all know that. It's not about personalities. He and I have had some differences, but that's okay. Personalities don't hurt at all. Me and my wife have had some differences. A few.
Never.
Don, I think that is an excellent idea, to give a little report at the end of what's going on.
Sure.
People are,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be an intelligent society, but you get out here and start talking to folks, I've discovered we're rather slow.
Yeah.
We're behind, we're not in line.
Stupid.
Well, you keep people confused and
Right, yeah.
they give up.
Well, and a lot of things too is people work, and they have these meetings when people can't really get there.
Yeah, 4:30 in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
So, I mean, even if you get off at 5, you know, by the time you get there,
Yeah.
it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, but it's traffic's 7 o'clock. So people, I think people would appreciate knowing that. You know, like Jerry said, I mean, that makes sense.
Well, see, I'll go on one better. I'll give them a prediction of what's going to happen, then give them the synopsis, which will prove what I said is right until they get off their butt and do something. And that's a fact, folks.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. Because they're going to pass that bill Tuesday to help, you know. And what have they got? They got an affordable housing coalition. They got an affordable housing coalition figured out how to build houses cheaper. There ain't no cheaper, folks. Somebody has to pay for it.
Yeah.
Has the commission ever finished on their promises of reducing homelessness, created any true affordable housing as prices come down anywhere?
No.
They have
Not
the
to my
same
knowledge.
promises they're doing this year that they had 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And matter of fact, you had the vice president today. You know her. She said, well, we're going to start paying attention to the underrepresented communities.
Well, what pronoun did she use?
Well, then she stuck to it, but you see, that's why I had with that fun in Barnesville, that guy in Barnesville today. I said, you know, you telling me that you're a moderate, but you don't know what a girl is, you don't know what sex is, you don't know what pronoun to use, and you're telling me you're a moderate? I guarantee you that's a vote I'm not going to get, but I wasn't going to get it anyway, because I checked his voting record, and he's voted Democratic for the last 15 years. Folks, I was a Democrat till 2004.
Don, Buncombe County has the largest nonprofit organizations throughout the state whenever you break it down percentage-wise. With that in mind, how effective are they? And what kind of, how would you mold nonprofits when it comes time to receive county taxpayer funded?
In the past, I worked up a resolution, gave it to the county commissioners, and I gave it to a mayor of Woodford. I bet, Rod, you know who I'm talking about. He took it and said, I'll implement it. I bet you Jerry Vihon's done away with it. I bet you. I'm not pulling any punches, folks. I'll be 75 August the 5th. I don't want but one term. And my plan is to recruit 4 to 5 young people. Notice I said people. I don't care what the sex is. That has an interest in government, that'll be willing to work with me. And my plan will be 6 months before I leave office is to try to have a chairman of this party smart enough to appoint who I pick to take my seat so they can run as an incumbent. The Democrats have been doing it all along, folks. I guarantee you Jasmine Beach Ferrara's replacement's already picked out.
Groomed.
Hmm.
Groomed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the real world. So I'm sitting here looking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This 15 can become 30 in the next week. And in the next week, that 30 can become 60. And in the next week, that 60 can be become 120. What I need, if anybody here wants to take one of those signs and take it to your house and put it in your yard, don't put it out by the road. I'm going to pull mine up out here where they pulled up the Republican sign. I am a Republican. I don't want to waste my money. But if you've got a yard, you want to put one up in your yard, and you're in District 3, please do. You see that big one right there. I've got 50 of those that I can frame and put up, and I need to get them up. I'm moving for August. I want to have them all up by the end of August, folks. So you can help me get that done. And then the other thing you can help me do is if you want to have some friends over, I don't care if it's 5, 6, or 7. Just ask questions. Because I think you're right. People don't know what's going on. People don't know how to know what's going on. Because by design, we send these managers off to college to become government managers. And they're taught how to avoid. Because what have we done on open records and going and requesting something for somebody right now? We have to go to the public relations department. And all we got to do is sue. Okay, and we could probably put a stop to that. Because you've got a right, according to that lawsuit, you got a right to go to the keeper of the information and ask the information. And I can tell you, DOT hates me for that lawsuit. Because I got a friend, Transylvania County's used it a whole lot. Anything else? Don't leave here without if you got something in mind, you got a comment, something you want me to do. Because you know what the definition of a county commissioner is? Anybody here know? I want you to ask everybody that's running.
What the definition is.
Represent the wishes of their constituents. That's it. Ask them. Any questions?
Don, I want to thank you for being bold enough and gutsy enough to take this task on.
Well, I appreciate that. You and I have talked a lot. And I appreciate you still supporting the party. Because we got a lot of chairs that have cut and run. And you ain't going to win running. You ain't going to win running. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it a lot. Like I said, if you want to take a sign, please do. If there's not enough there, let my wife know, she'll handle that.